Good morning. You're listening to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas. I'm really glad to be with you here in this November Sunday morning. And this is football season, and wow, we got a big game coming up this Saturday with Michigan State, or not Michigan State, but Michigan. And my gosh, Thanksgiving is Thursday. So I hope everybody's getting ready for that, and you probably got your turkey bought or your ham bought and are getting all ready to cook and entertain or go to friends or family's home. So just wish you all blessings on this Thanksgiving. And I'm planning on traveling to my wife's family's home in New York State. So they have a large get-together, and we do that every Thanksgiving. So that'll be fun. Last week, if you had a chance to listen in, we were talking about kitchen cabinets and kitchens in general with Courtney Burnett, who is our interior design manager here at Dave Fox. So in case you missed that and would like to hear about that, you can go to davefoxradio.com, and there you can listen to that broadcast or really any previously broadcast radio show. And a new feature we have now is we are videotaping these, and they are on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and search for the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, you will be able to listen to and watch the broadcast. So we started that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So any of those broadcasts will be on YouTube as well. You're welcome to go there. So today I have a couple of special guests from Hamilton Parker, and Hamilton Parker is a great partner of ours, and they've been on the radio show many times. So we have Jessica Pullen. Jessica, good to have you here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure, and Jessica, you've been on some.
It's my third time.
Third time, okay.
Yeah.
And then we have Bronte Hall. And Bronte, it's good to have you here this morning.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, so Bronte and Jessica, we're going to let you guys talk a little bit about yourselves, kind of explain your background and introduce yourselves to our radio audience and our YouTube audience, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Jessica, you want to go first?
Definitely.
Okay.
So with Hamilton Parker, I work in our fireplace and garage door departments. So I help a lot of people with updating their fireplaces, remodeling them, and then the same thing with their garage doors. And then Bronte works with our masonry department.
So I am the masonry design consultant for Hamilton Parker. So I help anyone with thin brick, full brick, stone veneer, anything to do with outdoor pavers, outdoor fireplaces. I can help them with that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. Okay, so when talking about Hamilton Parker, maybe some of our listeners aren't real familiar with Hamilton Parker, even though you guys have been in Columbus forever, right?
Yes.
And are a great company here. So just in case someone's not real familiar, maybe they are new into town, or maybe they haven't thought about remodeling or doing anything like that, and now they're thinking about it. So maybe you could describe a little bit about the company, maybe how long you've been here, and some of the different products that you guys offer.
Definitely. I've been with Hamilton Parker for 2.5 years now. We do the fireplaces, the garage doors, as Bronte mentioned, our masonry, patio pavers, outdoor fire pits, brick veneers, thin brick, and then we also do have tile products.
Great. Okay, and Bronte, you are the masonry specialist here this morning, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and Jessica, you're going to be handling fireplaces and overhead doors.
Yes, correct.
Sounds great. Okay, so when we think about these products, obviously service is an issue, whatever product someone puts in their home, whether it's a fireplace or a garage door or masonry products. So with this time of year, here we are getting into cooler weather.
Yes.
And, who knows what's ahead, right? But what do people need to think about in terms of service this time of year?
Definitely need to think about getting the fireplaces, especially up and running before you need them.
Okay.
It's very imperative that you, take that into account, because there's nothing worse than when it's -10 outside, your power's out, you go to turn your fireplace on, and suddenly it won't start.
Yeah.
We really recommend for service that you actually schedule preventative maintenances, typically late summer, early fall. That way you can kind of get in before our schedule really, really gets packed up. And the same thing with the garage doors. Garage doors is a little bit more of a catch-22 because nobody ever really plans on their garage door breaking. It's usually always an emergency in that case. But we do offer repair services for garage doors. And a lot of times what our technicians will do is if, like, let's say you're trapped in the garage or your car is stuck, we'll come out that same day and at least get your car out and then schedule to have a technician come out the following week to actually do the repair, fix your broken spring, replace the panel, do whatever needs done to get it back up and running for you.
Speaking of being trapped in your garage, okay, if there's a listener here this morning listening and they've never had that happen, and they don't know what to do, what would they do if they get in, they've got to go somewhere and their garage door won't open?
Well, first things first, 9 times out of 10, if the door is broken, it's because your spring is broken. So what I usually recommend you try to do is if you have an overhead opener, there should be a little red pull cord at the bottom of it, and pull that, because that'll release your opener from the door, and then try to lift your door up. If your door is real heavy, that means that your spring is broken. Typically then what you need to do is to either call someone to come and get the door lifted, or sometimes you can, ask a neighbor or a friend to help you lift the door long enough to at least get your car out. And then don't put anything in the garage that you need right away for the foreseeable future till you get it fixed.
Yeah, I think you definitely want help with that, because some of those doors can be very heavy.
Very
and it can be
heavy.
really dangerous to try to do that if you really aren't equipped to do it.
Especially with some of the older doors. And that's why it's really important to call us and have a technician come out there and help you if you can.
Sure. And, the overhead doors are so many different types, like the heavy wood ones. I'm sure the insulated doors are heavier than just a typical aluminum door.
Yeah, my standard insulated doors are usually about 2 inches thick, and they can weigh anywhere from a couple hundred pounds to 400 or 500 pounds, depending on how big the door is. So you never really know by looking at the door until you kind of start looking at the labels to really see how big and how heavy it is.
Okay, so listeners, if you get stuck in your garage, you got to go somewhere. You pull that red handle, right? Get out of the car, look for that red handle, pull that cord, and it'll release the door so that it'll open without being attached to the opener.
Correct.
And then get some help opening it. If it's a broken
If it's
spring,
a broken spring,
it's going to be
it's
a
too
very
heavy.
heavy door.
Yes.
If the spring is not broken and just the electric's off or the motor's
Then
not
your
working,
door should go right up, no
right.
problem.
Yeah, and it'll stay up in that situation.
And it doesn't matter how heavy the door is. If it's just your opener's broken or your electric's out, as long as your spring is properly wound and balanced on your door, it should open like no problem.
Great. I bet very few people have had that happen, but it could happen, right?
It never happens to you until it does.
Yeah, that's right. Always at the worst time, thanks to Murphy. Okay, and Jessica, you were mentioning fireplaces, and when we think about service on fireplaces, my gosh, there's so many different types of fireplaces today.
There are. The most common one we see are the gas fireplaces, what they call direct vent. So those are the ones with glass on the front of them. A lot of times we get calls, people want to ask, well, how do I clean the glass? The big thing I always like to remind everyone about is if you're going to clean any kind of glass on a fireplace, make sure you use an ammonia-free cleaner. Because if you use something with ammonia, you can damage the glass because it's got a very porous surface to it. So it's really important to keep that in mind. I always say with any fireplace, leave it to the professional though, because you don't want to mess with fire.
Right.
You don't want to mess with gas. It's really important to have someone that knows what they're doing, getting in there and messing with it. What we do is called annual maintenances, and where our technicians come out there and not only do they kind of keep everything up and running for you, look for any issues you might have, but they clean the logs and they'll freshen up the little ember bed and your lava rock and clean your glass and just make sure everything's sparkling and fresh and the way it needs to be.
Yeah, and with the different types of fireplaces, of course, there's wood-burning fireplaces.
Yes.
And, a chimney sweep is important. It's important to inspect your chimneys, right?
Correct. You definitely want to have a chimney sweep come out and clean your chimney every year. Even with the gas burning, if you have gas logs, it's still important because if you have creosote in that chimney, a gas log set can still ignite that creosote.
Okay, so listeners, pay attention. If you've got a gas logs or a wood-burning fireplace, you have to make sure that chimney is in proper condition. Not only could the creosote build up, but sometimes, I know if it's gas logs in a fireplace that's vented with metal, maybe there's a loose metal or something, and maybe it's not. It just needs to be inspected.
Yeah, you need to make
safety.
sure it's all properly put together, snapped in place. And even with like a masonry chimney, you can get cracks and breaks in the clay flues,
Right.
and that sort of stuff just happens over time. It's general wear and tear.
Yeah. Well, good advice, Jessica, to make sure we check our fireplaces and make sure they're safe because we don't want any fires happening in our fireplace
not.
or the flue during those cold winter nights.
Yes.
Right? We don't want to have to call the fire
We
department.
do not want to have to call the fire department.
All right. Thanks, Jessica. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. After the break, then, Bronte, I want to talk to you about some masonry products. We'll be right back. Good morning. You're listening to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, and we're really glad to have you all tuned in this morning. And we are talking fireplaces, overhead doors, and masonry. And we've got Bronte Hall with us from Hamilton Parker. Bronte, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Jessica Pullen.
Hi.
And just appreciate our relationship with Hamilton Parker. And so today, in this segment, Bronte, we want to talk a little bit about masonry products. And of course, Hamilton Parker carries a lot of masonry products, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, why don't you just give our listeners kind of an overview of all the masonry products that are in there, if we have time for all of that.
Yes, absolutely. So we have full bed depth stones, so just your face brick. With those, you can use those for walls. You can use them for building homes. You can use them for pavers. Some of them, our Bellcrest series, you can use those for pavers. We also have special clay pavers, concrete pavers. We have porcelain tile pavers. We also have stone veneer in both natural stone and cultured stone. So natural being quarried out of the ground and cultured being man-made. All of our stone is veneer stone, so it won't be full bed depth. So it makes it really easy to add. You don't need any extra weight bearings. It makes it really easy to just kind of spice up your house.
So the cultured stone doesn't require any weight bearing, but if it's real stone,
it doesn't require either, just because it is veneer as well.
Okay, so it's a thinner stone veneer.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Yeah, when you look at a lot of the old homes in Upper Arlington and different areas where they got the real thick,
yes,
really old stone, and we remodel a lot of those homes, so that's kind of a lost art today, isn't it?
It is. It is kind of hard to find the full bed depth stone. A lot of it is a veneer just because it's a little bit easier. You don't have to have the weight bearings. You don't have to have anything extra. You can put it right onto, your concrete block. You can put it on drywall, given that you have some kind of a metal lath or a concrete backer board. So it makes it a lot easier. Yeah,
so you've got the cultured stone option and then the true stone veneer. And are they both about the same thickness?
Yep, so they'll range just only about 1.25 to 2 inches.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sure there's a variety of different types. And,
there's, we have some that has mortar joints, so like your common limestones. We have dry stacks, which will come in all kinds of different sizes. Ledge stones, field stones, cobblestones. There's plenty of different sizes and textures.
Yeah, and you guys have such a nice new showroom now, and I'm sure people can come out there and see a lot of that.
Yes, we do.
Why don't you describe to our listeners what they might find if they come out and are interested in looking at stone?
Well, absolutely. So we have half of our masonry showroom is going to be stone. So we actually kind of have it divided up to where we have the cultured stone on 3 walls, and we'll have natural stone on 2. We have it displayed kind of by manufacturer. And then we have on the other side of the showroom, we would have the full brick and thin brick, and it's all by color. Yeah.
So full brick, obviously, we still see a lot of that in homes today. And
yes.
There's not really a cultured brick, is there?
There's not. So actually the thin brick is cut full clay brick. So we do have plenty of thin brick that's available as well.
And that's good for interior or exterior?
Correct, yes. We're seeing a lot of it exterior and as well as interior. Really? It can be really cool in like wine cellars. We've actually had people use it on their ceilings as accents. You can use it as for your flooring. There's certain ones that are approved for foot traffic. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can use with the stone and thin brick.
And do the installation techniques vary much if we're talking about stone and the cultured versus real stone?
No, so they're actually going to be installed the exact same way. And it's actually be very similar to how thin brick's installed as well. Traditionally, what we see is you're going to use some kind of a metal lath if you're going over drywall, because you don't want to pull that paper off. So you do like a metal lath or a concrete board. And then you'll have your scratch-coated mortar over that, and then you just butter the backs, and then you adhere it to that concrete board or the metal lath, the scratch coat.
Great. So is there much price variation between the cultured and the real stone?
That's typically what we see the biggest difference in.
Okay.
Just because with the cultured stone, they have to go to the real stone, they have to go out and to the quarries and dig it up, and then they have to cut it down, make sure it's smooth enough so we can have the mortar on the backs, to where with the cultured stone, it's molds that they'll put the color in, and then they'll add the concrete, and then they'll make the brick kind of like you can almost make it with like Play-Doh.
Okay, so for longevity, which one would you want on your house if you were going to be in your home for 15 years?
So honestly, either or. They have come along with cultured stone. So with cultured stone, it lasts just as long as real stone. However, sometimes we normally see about after 25 to 30 years, the color can kind of start to dull.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that kind of come up then. Or it doesn't have through body colorant because it's a concrete product. So if it chips, you will see that aggregate.
Okay.
To whereas if a natural stone would chip, you're going to still see that color that you saw on the face.
Okay, so people could expect 20 to 25 years with a pretty good looking result. Yeah.
For the cultured stone, yes.
Yeah, and I was talking to, a couple weeks ago with Greg Rice, our production supervisor, and we were talking about what is considered a permanent item in a home and what's considered kind of temporary. So really, permanent items are usually a 20 to 30 year life range, like a bathtub or your kitchen or, different fixtures you may put in, maybe your appliances in the kitchen. If you get 20 to 25 years, maybe 30 if you're lucky, that's pretty much a permanent item. And you just, assume you're going to have to change it. Maybe just the color looks so bad you want to change it, and maybe it's still working, but in most cases it's not still working, and you would change it. So, that's kind of considered a permanent fixture then, the cultured stone, if it lasts 20, 25 years. But the real stone, of course, has been around for a few years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of those beautiful homes down in Upper Arlington, as I was mentioning, the stone has been there 60 years, 70 years. And
Beautiful stone.
And just looks great. But that's a whole different era and different building techniques, isn't it?
Yes, that is true.
Things change over time. So, Bronte, if somebody came in and I know stone or any kind of an exterior treatment is going to have a lot of influence on how a house looks when people are driving by, the curb appeal,
Yes.
And maybe people are just not real happy with how their house looks. They want to spruce it up some, but don't have ideas. What would they do?
Absolutely. So, we kind of just recommend if you have, get some inspiration pictures or come in and we can kind of show you some different options. You can do anything from adding columns to the outside, at the end of your driveway, or if you want to wrap your mailbox, you can add some stone or thin brick. You can even add it to the face of your house. If you have gables, sometimes we'll have people want to add stone or thin brick to the gables. It's a really easy install. Like I said, there's not any extra weight bracing that's needed, so it's really easy to just add to any little parts of the house to kind of accent, and it will make a big difference from what you currently have.
Yeah, and do you have people that help people come up with these ideas or help them with design?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two of us that are inside sales that can help with that. We have plenty of different, we actually have an install team that installs the thin brick and stone veneer. So we all have pictures of different install jobs if they want to see, certain stone or just kind of get a different feel for the different options that are available.
Yeah.
To kind of spice up that look.
That's great. So really, if somebody come in there, you could handle all their issues there. You could help them design it. You could price out the materials, and you have the install as well.
Yes, absolutely.
One-stop shop.
Yeah.
That's great. I remember years ago, Bronte, when we put any kind of a stone exterior on a home before all these new products came out that don't require the support, we would have to bolt angle iron on the existing foundation,
Yes.
or even pour an additional foundation underneath it. And it was a lot of work just before you could even start putting anything on.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of work and a lot of money. It's nice to have the options of the cultured stone and natural stone and thin brick, because it's kind of a more cost-efficient way to add a lot of value to your home.
Absolutely. And really the quality look that you get with adding different textures and colors, materials to your home in an artful way, it's just amazing, because you could take a plain Jane house, do a few things to it, and don't have to spend a fortune, but completely revolutionize how it looks.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite parts about my job, is getting to see what you can transform. And you can just do it easily. You have so many different options.
Yeah. Sounds great. Sounds like a lot of fun. And I'm sure you guys probably have some photos of projects, or you can give people ideas through photos. Yeah. Great. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And Jessica, after the break, I want to talk about some overhead doors. So we will be right back. Welcome back. You are listening to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas. Really glad to have everybody tuned in this morning. And I'm sure all of you are thinking about Thanksgiving coming up here on Thursday. And also the big OSU Michigan game, right? Saturday. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Big game.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. So today I have with me, in case you're just tuning in, I've got Bronte Hall and Jessica Pullen from Hamilton Parker. Thanks,
Hi.
ladies, for
Hi.
being here. Appreciate that. We're learning a lot about products here. We're learning a lot about masonry products, thin brick, different types of products you can put on the exterior of your home without needing extra reinforcement. And that's nice. You can really change the curb appeal dramatically with some of the stone products that Bronte has available. And our listeners can go right into the Hamilton Parker showroom there, the beautifully redesigned showroom, and they can get some help sprucing up their house. So they ought to bring a photo in, right, Bronte, of what they have now?
Yeah, just some inspiration is always good to have,
Yeah.
just so we can get an idea of the look that they're trying to
Yeah, so they could bring some
accomplish.
pictures of what they want to accomplish, but also a picture of their existing home, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Kind of give them some ideas to work off of. Great. And then, Jessica, overhead doors also have an effect on curb appeal, don't they?
Definitely. A lot of people don't realize how much the garage door takes up of the front of your home, but sometimes it takes up anywhere from a quarter to over half of it. And I always say, it's the last thing you see when you leave during the day, and it's the first thing you see when you get home. So you want something you can enjoy looking at, You don't want to have something that you're like, oh, I hate that door. Like, why did I put it in? Like, why did I cheap out on it? You want to do something really nice that you're going to really enjoy looking at, that's going to really make your house.
Sure. Yeah, and today there are so many overhead door styles. It's
So many
amazing.
options.
Yeah.
There's so many options.
Yeah.
There's a most common type of door is what they call a steel door. And it's got like 5 main panel styles. So you've got your normal raised panel, or what they call like a colonial style door. That's the most common one you see. Then they have what they call the ranch style, which is the same but long. And then they have what they're like stamped carriage is what they call them. And I call them a hybrid door. So they're kind of a hybrid between your normal panel steel door and your like big barn overlay door. And it's going to have like these little vertical grooves and a stamped rectangle or stamped square in the steel. And they're really nice because you can really dress them up and put things like decorative handles and pull hinges on them. And it just really kind of gets that overall like carriage house feel, but you don't have the wood, which is really nice.
Yeah. Some of the real large, like strap hinges and stuff that go on the accents on those doors. It's
Yes.
the details make the difference.
They really
Yeah.
do. And they have so many different styles too. The most common are usually just kind of like spear shaped, but they have ones that are shaped like arrows. They have ones that are fleur-de-lis. I have a company that does lion head knockers. So you have lots of different options you can do to really make it unique and kind of dress it up.
Yeah, so if you're out there listening to this, and if you look down through your neighborhood and see a bunch of plain-looking garage doors, you have a chance to really make your house stand out by
Yes,
putting a really
definitely.
cool door in there, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So Jessica, you could help them with that, couldn't you?
I could.
So at your showroom, I'm sure they can see a lot of the different door styles there.
We have about 10 doors on display. I carry 2 manufacturers called Wayne Dalton and CHI. Wayne Dalton's made here in Ohio, and then CHI is made over in Illinois. And I have about 5 doors from each manufacturer. They both have wood, fiberglass, steel. So if there's something you're looking for, we can probably get it for you.
Yeah.
If they don't have it standard, they can probably custom fabricate it for you.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people listening this morning might have older doors that work, okay, but maybe they just marginally work, and maybe they marginally look okay. And as we're talking, maybe a listener's thinking, well, I wonder what a difference a door would make on the front of my house. But if someone's going to change their door and maybe just put a door on there that really adds some curb appeal and really stands out. This is also a chance for them to get updated overhead door openers that can be
Correct.
controlled by your phone. And
Yes.
that can notify you when the door's left open, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So LiftMaster is a brand that we do work with, and they actually don't make anything anymore without Wi-Fi enabled in it. And it's a really cool option because you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Not everyone's into the whole tech phase, not everyone wants that capability, but a lot of people do. So it's nice because if you're the kind of person, you leave your garage, you drive down the street and you go, oh man, did I close my garage door? Because I've done that before. I know a lot of people have. You can just use your phone to shut it. You don't have to drive back. You have a delivery coming. They actually have something set up with Amazon now where you can give your Amazon driver like a one-time code. They go in your garage, drop your package off, they leave, they shut your door. Boom. You don't have to worry about your packages getting stolen for the holidays. You don't have to worry about anyone having your garage door code. So it's a really neat, opportunity that they've kind of come up with here to really kind of bring in that whole smart home thing that we have going on nowadays.
Sure. Okay, so Jessica, if we have a listener out there that's just thinking, well, maybe I need an overhead door, how would you advise them to move forward? What do they need to think about? What do they need to look at? Maybe they need to look something up online.
So the big things I always say are, what kind of color do you need? And what kind of style do you need? Things like windows and decorative hardware and that kind of stuff all really come second. The big things are the color and your style. So, I always think it's a good idea to go on places like Pinterest or, Google image search even, and look up different types of doors. Oh, I like that. Or, oh, I like that. And, bring those pictures in, and we can usually find a theme. Well, hey, all the doors you picked are black, or hey, all the doors you picked have this type of a panel. And we can help you narrow down then what you really want. What's really nice too is when we get you to that point of narrowing it down to maybe 1 or 2 different models of doors, my manufacturers have design centers on their websites. You take a picture of the front of your house, you upload it on the website, you build the door on there, you stick it on the front of your house, you can see what it looks like.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So that way you have an idea of what it's going to look like before you buy it. So, you might say, I want a big, huge raised panel door in an almond color, and then you put it on your house and you're like, oh, never mind, I don't want that.
Okay, so I'm sure someone's listening and they're thinking, oh, how do I do that? So explain to them how they do that.
So you take a picture of your house and upload it to the manufacturer websites. They're called Wayne, Dalton, and CHI.
Okay.
And then when you go on there, it's called usually like a design center or like build your door, and you would put in the type of door you want. So it prompts you a lot of times with pictures, which is really helpful. So you can look at the picture of the panel style you want. So whether you want a raised panel or a carriage style door, and then you pick your color and you pick, do you have a small single door? Do you have a large double door? And then you can add things like windows, and it shows you all the different window options you can get, the different types of glass. Do you want a clear glass? Do you want a frosted glass? And then you can even add the decorative hardware on there. And then what it does is you hit apply to my home photo, and it pops up an image for you and just shows it pasted right on there.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
Photoshop
great.
Without the Photoshop.
So you can really see the change it's going to make on your house.
Yes.
And you say, whoa, my gosh.
Yes.
Be careful, though, because you're going to want that door if you do it right.
You definitely will.
All right. So speaking of overhead doors, I know there's a lot of different types too. Can you want to go through that with our listeners?
Yes. So the most common type of door we have is steel. So that's what you're going to see on a lot of your new construction homes, and homes built probably in the 90s and later are going to have steel. If it was pre-90s, you're going to see a lot of wood doors. The thing with wood doors is they don't make them like they used to. Wood doors from the 80s and the 70s and the 60s were real thick slabs of wood that they would carve into and, put on some springs and stick it up on your house. And they were really nice because they were so heavy duty. Wood doors nowadays are, kind of plywood, and they've got some insulation in them, so they're just not quite as thick and sturdy. And then there's fiberglass, which is getting more and more popular. It's a nice alternative to wood because you still get the wood finish. It's smooth. You get kind of a wood grain color, but you don't have to worry about the maintenance that you get with the wood. And then the nicest one I really like right now is aluminum doors. Okay. So those are the all glass doors. What you see at restaurants and bars, and they're getting more and more popular right now in residential homes, especially in Columbus. We don't have a huge modern, contemporary home market here, but it is building slowly but surely. And those doors are really nice.
Yeah. And the glass then comes in different ways, right?
Oh, yes.
Give us some of the options.
So they have tinted glass, and it's not just a single tint. They make gray, bronze, green, all sorts of different colored tints. They make a frosted glass. They do what they call obscure, which is kind of like a shower glass. I know some of my manufacturers have what they call glue chip, so it's got kind of like a feathered, like kind of nature pattern to it, and even seeded glass, which looks like rain droplets. So they have all sorts of different options.
Wow. That sounds great.
Yes.
Okay, Jessica, thanks. We're going to take a quick break, Jessica, and after that, we want to talk more about fireplaces. I know in the beginning segment we talked some about it, but there's a lot to talk about, so we'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome back to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, and we are having a lot of fun here talking about outdoor products. We're talking about overhead doors, masonry products, and talking with Bronte and Jessica from Hamilton Parker here in Columbus. And not only outdoor products, but we're also going to move to indoors, right, Jessica?
Yes.
And we're going to talk about fireplaces. It's funny because right during the break, Bronte, you've been kind of our masonry expert here. And Jessica, you've been the fireplace overhead door expert. And we mentioned it's kind of like cross-training for you two, because
Yes.
you're learning from each other about these different products.
Bronte starts talking about the masonry. I'm like, ooh, I can do that. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, Bronte, let's you and I learn something about fireplaces here from Jessica. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. Where do we want to start? We can talk about gas fireplaces, wood-burning fireplaces, electric fireplaces.
What's the most popular? What are you selling the most of now?
Gas is huge right now.
Okay.
Everybody loves gas because it's really realistic. It's come a long way. The downside of the gas is typically you have to have gas. Not everyone does.
Right.
And it can be a little more labor intensive to put in. So it's not always the best option for remodelers. It's usually the best option in new construction. For remodels, we really like to see the electrics go through.
Okay.
People that are redoing their basements and their bathrooms and their master bedrooms, and they really want to add something to spice it up. Electric fireplaces are a really good option because they have ones that you can build into the wall. They have ones you can hang on the wall like a TV. They have ones that are like really long and skinny, and they have like crushed glass and they're very contemporary. They have ones with logs that are very like portrait style and traditional that can sit on your floor. You can build a little hearth for them. So they have so many different options.
Yeah. So when you talk electric fireplaces, and I know they've been out for a few years now, but maybe some of our listeners thought, what? Electric fireplace? How does that work? So explain how that works.
So it's all electric. A lot of times people will ask, so do I need venting? Do I need gas for it? No, it's just electric required. And it's almost kind of like having a space heater in terms of the heat.
Okay.
And they use LED lights, and it's all kind of illusion, smoke and mirrors on how they create the flame. So for example, the long contemporary ones, they have little LED light bulbs that sit underneath of where the burner bed is. And then they have little flame cutouts that sit on like a little rotisserie, like a rotisserie chicken. And they turn, and those flame cutouts turn, they shine the flame or the LED lights up to create the fake flame pattern on this mirrored reflective surface in the back of the fireplace. And that's what makes it look like it's a flame and it's constantly moving. Not the most realistic, of course, but let me tell you, they've come a long way in the last 10 years.
And they put out some heat just electrically?
Yes, so it's just like a space heater is the best way to kind of compare it.
Okay.
Most don't go over about 5,000 BTUs, so they'll heat up a room, but not your home by any means.
And you probably don't get the radiant heat that you get from a real
No,
fireplace.
it's very kind of, it's static.
Static heat.
Very static heat.
Okay. All right, but you could stick one of those probably about anywhere. In your
Oh
home.
yeah, we see them in basements, bedrooms, bathrooms. Bathrooms are my favorite place to see them right now. People put them above their tubs, which I think is really neat because you can turn your tub, you sit in your tub and you relax and you got your fireplace on and you look up and you get the heat off of it. So it's really nice for cold winter nights when you're trying to warm up.
Yeah. So you get the ambiance.
Yes.
Without all the
All the
other stuff
headaches
that goes
sometimes
with-
of the other options.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the electric and then the gas and of course there's wood burning.
Of course, there's wood burning.
And that's kind of becoming a rare thing nowadays.
Wood burning is definitely not as popular as it used to be, and it's convenience thing. Nobody wants to haul wood, nobody wants to lug wood, and let's be honest, in Columbus, where are you going to go buy wood at?
Yeah.
A lot of times, I'll use my mother for example. When she lived here, she would drive out to Heath to get wood for our fireplace because
Really?
we had a wood fireplace. That was
Yeah.
the closest place you could get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't like the smell either from the wood fireplace.
Have a little bit of a smell to it.
Yeah. Okay, so in gas, I know there's different versions, really a lot of different options when you go to natural or propane gas.
So there's vented and there's vent free, and almost everything can use natural gas and propane. It's just kind of knowing how it's going to affect your fire. So the big thing is if you use natural gas, you're typically going to have a more orange and kind of a fuller flame. And if you use propane, you're going to have a little bit of a smaller and a more blue flame. And that's just due to the properties of the different types of gases. But like I said, we can make almost any type of fireplace work with either option. It's just knowing what your final product's going to look like. The vented are really nice because they're sealed. They're very safe. They've got safety screens on them. They have a lot of different options. They can be customized. I have manufacturers that you pick the brick and the logs and the decorative piece that goes around it. So you really make it your own. I have ones that are, just basic black, it kind of is what it is. So there's a lot of variety.
Yeah.
With the vent free, they're really nice because you don't have to have any venting for them. They do have a little bit of an odor to them and they are open to the room. So if you've got little ones running around or pets, you do have to put something like a freestanding screen in front of it just to keep them out of that fire.
Yeah, and with the gas logs and gas fireplaces is very realistic, isn't it? And you do get the radiant heat.
Yes, you get a lot of heat off of them, more than people realize, I
Yeah.
think. You get quite a bit. I know sometimes when I'm cold in the office, I go out and stand in our showroom and just warm myself up in front of the fireplaces because
Yeah.
they get really warm.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great. And then we've got listeners that I guess could be one of three scenarios. One, they're going to build a new home and put fireplaces in there. They can pick really anything they want because they can add all of the mechanicals that they need. Or they may be adding a room addition, and there's those different things to consider. It would be similar, I suppose, to building a new home. And then there's remodel situations where, and we get into that a lot, where people, maybe it's their hearth room or kitchen or family room or living room, and they have an older fireplace and just maybe it is wood burning, or maybe it's just old gas logs that need to be kind of removed and new stuff put in.
And when you run into those situations, especially in some of the older homes like Upper Arlington we were talking about earlier, where the fireplaces is like right in the middle of the house, it's not ideal to start tearing things down, and you never know what you're really going to get into.
Yeah.
So that's when things like gas logs are a really great option. They can really kind of freshen up the inside of the fireplace, and you don't have to break your bank to do that. Another thing people don't realize you can do a lot of times is you can paint the inside of your fireplace if it's like an old masonry. Now, you can't just go buy like a crayon spray paint from Ace Hardware. Don't do that. But there's manufacturers that make like for instance, Stove Bright makes a paint that's specifically for high temp and high heat that you can paint on the inside of your fireplace, and they have all sorts of different colors. You can paint it black, you can paint it gray, you can paint it pink if you really want to. That's nice if you have a lot of, soot and creosote buildup. And, if you want to try to salvage the brick, just, cleaning it off with warm water and rubbing it with a real fine grit sandpaper, you can usually get a lot of that soot off there too to clean it.
Then when we talk about these fireplaces, there's always fireplace doors that we put on some units, right?
Yes. And what's really nice is I have a manufacturer I work with that makes custom doors for masonry fireplaces. So they make these to fit, because no masonry fireplace is perfectly square. So it's really nice because what happens is you buy, a standard quote unquote standard size door, and when you go to put it on, it looks kind of wonky because it doesn't quite fit right. With these ones, if your side on the left is 31.25 inches high and your side on the right's 33 inches high, they'll make it to fit so that it fits on that opening and it doesn't look right. It sits straight and it works.
That's good. In remodeling, there's nothing that's ever straight. Although one time I saw a straight something, but
it's like a unicorn.
That's right. Yeah. And then I'm sure there's exterior fireplace options as well.
Yes. So exterior fireplaces are huge right now. There's gas and there's wood burning still. And then there's also indoor-outdoor fireplaces, which is kind of a newer, nicher market, but it's definitely a neat thing to think about. And then there's fire pits, of course. There's gas burning and wood burning fire pits. And, that's something that even Bronte has down on her masonry side of things, is she has wood burning fire pits. And they make, DIY kits so you can do them yourself. And all you have to do is put like a stone veneer on them. They have tables even if you don't want to run a gas line, but you want to buy like the little 20-pound propane tanks. You can just run them with the little 20-pound propane tanks.
That's awesome. Well, Jessica and Bronte, it's been great having you on the show this morning. We've learned a lot and appreciate that. And you're from a great company, Hamilton Parker, here in Columbus. So people can go down to your beautiful new showroom and get help on any of these projects that we've been talking about. Next week, I'm going to be talking with Mark and Adam from Greenscapes. We're going to be talking about winter landscapes. So you can listen to that next week. Or, as always, you can go to davefoxradio.com to listen to any of our previous shows. We'll be back next Sunday morning at 8.